has dropped by almost one-third since the end of the Brexit transition period. That's according to data seen by Sky News. And at the same time, costs have risen, as our business correspondent Paul Kelso now reports.
At a warehouse in wintry Kent, a Spanish lorry completes a 1,000-mile journey to meet our year-round demand for summer produce. There's more room than normal inside. Snowstorms in Spain have hit supplies of some crops, and COVID continues to cut demand.
Well, we import a lot of soft fruit at this time of year, a lot of berries as well as citrus coming in from Spain. Predominantly in January, the main challenge is the weather.
But there's another issue that won't pass with the seasons. New red tape at Britain's borders is a fresh challenge, even for companies like this, with almost 70 years trading experience.
We've had the added challenge of Brexit and the added documentation that requires. Hauliers have an extra cost in coming here. They don't know if their drivers are going to get back within a certain amount of time. If the wheels aren't moving, they're losing money. And ultimately, so are we.
Freight ground to a halt in December when the French border was closed by COVID. But with routine testing now in place, companies still face new customs checks and paperwork, adding cost and complexity. Freight volumes have slumped as a consequence. Lorry traffic in both directions from EU states down 29% year on year. And European hauliers are less keen to come. The number of freight contracts from France to the UK rejected has risen 168% on last year. And that's put costs up. Moving cross-channel freight now costs 47% more than in January 2020.
Brexit has erected barriers to trade between Britain and the EU where previously there were none. And just because you can't see them and the traffic is moving on these motorways in Kent doesn't mean they don't exist. One of the reasons it's quiet is that many companies have stopped importing and exporting while they get used to the new rules.
Nims is one of them. They're sourcing the lemons for their air-dried fruit crisps from Egypt because of hold-ups in supply from Spain, and say the new regulations are slicing already small margins ever finer.
Decided that for the month of January we are not going to import anything from the EU, we're not going to export to the EU. We were selling to 5 different countries, but we stopped exporting pretty much most of last year leading up to this.
For foods containing animal products, it's even more complicated.
Because our product contains dairy, every single export or order is now going to require an export health certificate, which costs about £200 and requires an official vet to certify the milk that we use is okay. So that's going to add an extra £50,000 a year annually to our costs.
Officials say up to 200 lorries a day are turned back at the border, fewer than they expected, the result of what ministers insist are just teething trouble with the new rules. That theory will face a sterner test if and when traffic returns to normal. Paul Kelso, Sky News in Kent.